Mitch McConnell said after he got reelected to the Senate that his top priority would be sending out stimulus right away. Well, in the last 24 hours, Lindsey Graham, one of the leading Republicans, also just reelected to the Senate, says that his top priority is sending out stimulus right now. So what would the stimulus package look like? Wall Street has an opinion about what Mitch McConnell and the GOP is going to do in the next few days, and ironically, they've already given us this tip. I'm going to give you the details on what's going to be in the stimulus package, what's not going to be, and how ultimately President Donald Trump will push this to get it done if everyone works in the way they have worked. It's all really encouraging. And it was so encouraging that last night I went to the casino. You know, I had already eaten enough, and so I need a little bit more milk. So I went to the casino, and there was Sir Lloyd, and then he came in. He's like, "Can you move over?" I'm like, "Yeah, how are you?" I said, "What did you have for Thanksgiving, Sir Lloyd?" He's like, "The front lawn." I said, "The front lawn?" "Yeah, I ate everything in the front lawn of the casino." So and what are you gonna do for leftovers? Eat the back lawn, of course. I said, we're trying to get this stimulus package out during the holidays, and I wonder what you think about the situation, because you are the lobbyist for the cows. You got cows stimulus before anyone else got stimulus, and this is actually not a joke. Remember, there were those cows that got stimulus back in July, while millions of Americans sought back and wondered what was the tip that the cows got the stimulus first. That's not funny. We don't tip cows here. And I said, well, what do you think? Well, Mooch McConnell was, really in favor of giving us stimulus. It's Mitch McConnell. Mooch McConnell. He's a cow. What do you think Mitch had for Thanksgiving? Lobster. Lobster. And how about AOC pot bill? I just... Your jokes today, Sir Lloyd, are just a little bit too much for me. And what do you think Nancy Pelosi had for Thanksgiving? $12 ice cream. It's reassuring, but we would hope that stimulus goes out in the next few days. What do you think? I believe it will. The only thing that may get in front of everyone's eyes is Nancy Pelosi's hairstyle. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Being a Mitch, and thank you for joining me on a special edition after Thanksgiving. As Black Friday sales are underway and stores are empty and Wall Street is jitterish, and I told you this was going to be happening. And so now there's a big push underway for Mitch McConnell, the Republicans, to get stimulus out, and ironically, they want it to go out. So what does Wall Street say about that? In this video, I'll be going over what Congress will be doing under a second stimulus package in the next few days, they so claim. And I'll be going over whether you should be happy about this, anxious about this, or discontent about it. Spoiler, you should be happy about it. All right, if you've not subscribed, please do, because in this video, I have a lot of details for you. And I'm also fighting to get you money right now, not 5 days from now, not 5 weeks from now, but right now. I continue to get viewers a ton of money. And right after this video, I'll be going into evenings Lalate and at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then 6:30 check. And on evenings Lalate, I have big developments on how to get that CARES Act 1 money right now. And on Purple Power, I'll be answering your questions about how to get money across the board. An example is Tyrone, who joined Purple Power Live 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and he was in the state of Massachusetts, a state where everyone said there's no rent grants. I said, Tyrone, go get it. It's there. Don't listen to the naysayers. He got it, $14,000 in rent. So congratulations, Tyrone. Let's get to what's going on in this video. In this video, I'll be going... So please subscribe. I forgot. So please subscribe and also like this video. It really helps with the rankings. In this video, I'll be going over what Wall Street thinks that Mitch McConnell is going to be doing, what Lindsey Graham is saying should be done, what Mitch McConnell is saying should be done, and what Steve Mnuchin is saying what should be done, and what the president would do into this situation, and what I think is going to happen. Big developments unfolding in the next few days, and let's get To the breaking news. The breaking news as you sit here today is that Mitch McConnell and now Lindsey Graham are two of the top GOP senators, both saying that a stimulus package will be offered and dealt with in the next few days. Lindsey Graham, in new comments today and yesterday, said that his first item of business is a stimulus package. He thinks that millions of Americans need stimulus right now. They can't wait, and that the stimulus package should be narrowly tailored and should be $500 trillion, $500 billion, but should be robust, but should not be $2.2 trillion. This mirrors what Steve Mnuchin, Mark Meadows, and Mitch McConnell have said over the recent weeks. After election night, Mitch McConnell said his first item of business is sending out a stimulus package, but it would be about where it was before, that he offered perhaps a little bit more, that he would give some money for state and local, that he would support the Problem Solvers bill. And that was then. In the days that followed, Lindsey Graham, right after election night, said he would support the Problem Solvers bill. He specifically said, I would support the Problem Solvers bill. Couldn't make it any clearer than that. Other top GOP leaders said, I would do the Problem Solvers bill as well. As you know, there's $500 billion of CARES Act 1 money that's sitting over there that if sent out as a stimulus check, either by executive order of the president, who can still do it, or by Mitch McConnell legislative action, would be a $5,000 stimulus check. You should be on social media pushing Purple Power, hashtag Purple Power check, getting that message out very loud and clear. Mitch, you repurpose that CARES Act 1 money and send it as a $5,000 stimulus check. Why do I think that's so important? Why am I pushing that narrative so loud? First, because they do listen to us. How many times has Steve Mnuchin done exactly what I've been pushing for the Purple Power on this channel? One, he was at $100 billion for state and local. I said to go to 300. He went to 300. Two, I said go higher in your stimulus checks. $1,200 stimulus checks is not enough. He went higher. Three, I said do the Problem Solvers bill. He did the Problem Solvers bill. Four, I said do retroactive FPUC. Don't leave FPUC just sort of sitting around and starting at a date in November. He did FPUC retroactively, not as far as I'd like it to be, but retroactively. And so you see this consistency. Mark Meadows, after months of me saying her way or the highway, said Nancy Pelosi needs to stop doing her way or the highway, and said that while wearing a purple tie. Ironic? I think not. So what's important to understand is you need to be on social media and just pushing Mitch McConnell very loud and saying, do a standalone bill for that CARES Act 1 money, send it out as a $5,000 stimulus check. There's that focus. Then there is always the push with the Republicans, who are actually the Democrats, which I've not been talking too much about lately. Lately, I've been talking the push with the Republicans because I ultimately believe that the Republicans have their minds screwed on correctly at the moment and the Democrats don't. And that's what Wall Street's saying. Wall Street's now saying that you'll never see $2.2 trillion as a bill ever in this country approved. It's $2.2 trillion would only have one possible lifeline, and that is if nothing happens and we wait to January 5th and both seats in Georgia fall to the Democrats. I don't think that's happening. So what I believe is going to happen is what Wall Street believes is going to happen. $500 billion, CARES Act, $500 billion, a GOP-designed bill that would have stimulus checks, FPUC, UI, PUA, eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, and some hazard pay done now. And that is the deal that works. Let me explain the deal items and explain them each individually, slowly, one at a time, and explain why other things I don't believe are ever going to get in there. First, stimulus check? Yes. Happening in this bill? Yes. Am I ever worried about something? Certainly. Mitch McConnell is the guy who said he would give you stimulus checks, and every time he didn't put them in there. So you have to be very loud and clear with Mitch. You need to be tweeting him morning to night. Stimulus check, stimulus check, stimulus. He has to go to bed and wake up and hear stimulus check in his ear at morning, noon, night. Tag his communications director with these videos. Share these videos on Twitter, on Facebook, and tag him and his chief of staff and his press secretary and everyone say, stimulus checks. We need stimulus checks. We need stimulus checks. Make it very, very clear. He supports stimulus checks. Second, repurposing the CARES Act 1 money is so important because what happens is when you're using the CARES Act 1 money, $800 billion, suddenly the price tag of the second stimulus package bill is reduced by that amount. Let me give you an example. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Grassley, all top GOPs in the Senate say they would do the Problem Solvers bill $1.5 trillion. Okay. Problem Solvers bill $1.5 trillion has two stimulus checks in there. One now and one in March for $1,200. Who wants a stimulus check in March? You want $2,400 now together as a stimulus check. Well, that cost about $600 billion from the Problem Solvers bill. If you took out those two $1,200 stimulus checks, then suddenly the Problem Solvers bill is at about $1 trillion or $900 billion. And instead use CARES Act 1 money at SBA as a $5,000 stimulus check. Suddenly when you do that, you're exactly where Mitch McConnell is. He doesn't want to spend money. He doesn't want to raise the national debt. It's been double because of the first stimulus package. So the way you don't raise the national debt is you use existing money and repurpose it. Now you're going to say to me, but Steve Mnuchin had that money last week. He put it away in lock and key and we couldn't repurpose it. Yeah, he did. But ultimately, that was never your stimulus money. It was program money from the Federal Reserve that had to go on a lock and key. This is money that absolutely could be repurposed. And Steve Mnuchin has written letters about repurposing money. And Mark Meadows and Larry Kudlow have used the same word repurpose after I say it 1,000 times on this channel. So Mitch McConnell, would you do it? Absolutely. You need to get that narrative out very loud and clear. In fact, the Republicans asked the Democrats last week, would you repurpose existing CARES Act 1 money and send it as a stimulus check? The Democrats said no. No, we wouldn't. It's not quite clear why, but I'm not dealing with that strange narrative just yet. Next, let me go to unemployment benefits. Yes, I believe that Mitch McConnell will do what he says, which is extend unemployment, PUA, which is expiring late December, extend eviction moratorium, which doesn't cost anything to extend a moratorium. Moratorium is free. There's no money involved in the moratorium. Mortgage forbearance also free. Extend that as well. And then another round of PPP, which is really needed for some businesses, and an EIDL is needed for businesses, and some hazard pay, but not $10,000 of hazard pay. I think that would all happen because Mitch has said he would do it and has done it in prior versions of the second stimulus bill. So who is the real negotiator for this? It's Mitch McConnell. The person in charge is Donald Trump with Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, but Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows are preparing for their exit, their final hour. And so suddenly Steve Mnuchin is doing exactly what you thought he was going to do. He's gone from the $1.9 trillion offer. That's gone. Sorry, honey. Sorry, honey, you didn't take it. You were worried about your hair. You didn't take it, and that's gone. So now Steve Mnuchin says, I'll do $500 billion. With a big smile. You didn't take 1.9. Now I'm offering you only $500 billion. What's important for you to understand is that everything you need is covered in $500 billion. Stuff that she wants is not covered in $500 billion. And this is what's getting very interesting now. Wall Street is now saying she doesn't need 1.9 or 2.0 or whatever crazy number she's at. She doesn't need it. And why doesn't she need it? Because the claim that cities and states are going bankrupt because of COVID is not true. Cities and states were said to be worried about unable to survive this pandemic because of lost revenue from businesses, and we're going to have to lay off millions of people across the state because they couldn't pay their bankroll. It's just not true. It's just not true. New Mexico, for example, yesterday just passed out fortunes of money to their cities and to their citizens because they had so much extra CARES Act 1 money that they could have given to their fire and rescue and their state employees, but they had enough money to just give out to their citizens. They had so much extra money sitting around. Honolulu, which is a city which I've detailed a lot, had hundreds of millions of dollars sitting around. They're not even used from CARES Act 1, which is what I'm talking about with the rent, the grants, and all that. All this rent grant money is money the states could have used on their own employees that they're afraid to fire because they're going bankrupt. They did it. They just let it sit around, and then they said, okay, you know what? We're going to give it for rent for our citizens and our utilities. The reason why you're getting rent and utility grants because of this channel is because the states did not need that money to pay their bankrupt accounts for their employees. It was a false narrative. It was a fake story. Now, what Wall Street is also now saying is, hey, have you looked at housing starts? What's housing starts? New housing starts means when a person comes in and builds a community of new houses, that's what I call a housing start. Housing starts are nearly almost double since last year. Imagine how much money every state is making on the revenue every time someone sells a $200,000 vacant lot on a new housing start. A fortune. This is not a $10, frying pan that the state's making tax revenue on. It's a $200,000 house, a $100,000 house, an $80,000 house. How much revenue? They're making a fortune. New housing starts in every state is up way high. I sound like a Valley girl. Way high, like, oh my God, is up really high. And that's what's really probably frying Nancy, is that the claim that states are going bankrupt because they need all this money, just not happening. So the bottom line is that everything that Nancy Pelosi wants in the second stimulus package is just not needed anymore. It's just not there. What is needed is your stimulus check. Mitch will give it to you. What is needed is your FPUC, your PUA. Mitch will give it to you. What is needed is retroactive FPUC. I don't know how far back Mitch is going to go retroactively, but he'll give you something. What is needed is some hazard pay. You'll get some. I don't know how much. What is needed is PPP and EIDL. Mitch will do that. Ultimately, as we look back on this, in being a Mitch, which before this series was called McConnell versus Trump, Nancy Pelosi ultimately cost you about, the average viewer, about $7,000 to $8,000. Steve Mnuchin with Mitch McConnell in July had offered $400 a week during the negotiations of the second stimulus package when FPUC was about to expire, offered $700 a week. August, September, October, November, December. It's been 20 weeks since then. 20 weeks at $400 a week is $8,000. So she cost you $8,000 just on FPUC alone. He offered a very bold stimulus check, which was probably higher than $2,000 in the last negotiations. She cost you that. She cost you that as well. She's cost you a lot of money. And some of you, you would have gotten UI and your UI has run out. So what's important to understand is that Wall Street sees that and Democrats see that, and you need to push. So take this video and also push on the Democratic side. Push with the Blue Dog Democrats. Push with the New Age the Blue Dogs, the New Age Democrats, and the Problem Solvers. Say, get this done. Get this done. This kid is following the money. Use CARES Act 1 money, send it out as a stimulus check, do unemployment, FPUC, PUA, PPP, EIDL, and call it a day. And if you need more money in February or January, you do it then. But this is emergency. This needs to be done right now. Wall Street says it, Republicans say it, and moderate Democrats say it. Everyone else is saying it except her. And we'll get to the finish line. If you've not subscribed, please do. Coming up next is Evenings LA. And following that is also a live broadcast of Purple Power Live. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.